United States Military Academy at West Point and spent her early career as an intelligence officer in Western Europe. She holds a Master of Science in Strategic Intelligence from the Defense Intelligence College and is currently pursuing a Master of Science in Executive Leadership from the University of San Diego. Crystal has performed the duties of Executive Director for a vocational computer training program, Operations Manager for a national sports nutrition manufacturer, and the Director of Operations for a data storage solution provider. She would tell you that one of the most exciting, fun, and challenging positions that she has had was as a logistics manager for a Navy shipyard. Currently, Crystal serves as a senior manager supply chain for the Aerostructures division of United Technologies Aerospace Systems. She has had the opportunity to lead teams focused globally on Tier 1, military, non-product, and distributed product suppliers across multiple aircraft programs. Recently, she has been named as a transformation lead and change agent for the Aerostructures division as UTAS drives to the one company supply chain model. With that, I will hand the baton to Crystal. Today's session is structured a bit different from past where we had a question answer format. Today, Crystal is going to give a brief presentation on her leadership point of view, and after that, the forum to the audience to ask any questions that they may have. With that, Crystal, it's all to you now.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I'd like to thank each of you for giving me part of your day today. As Puneet talked about, I'm currently enrolled and participating in a Master's of Science in Executive Leadership at the University of San Diego. So I'm here for two reasons. The first of which is that the university program asks that we share our leadership point of view with the people that we work with. Additionally, I'm here because each of you in this room I consider to be a valued teammate. And as such, I think you deserve to know who I am as your teammate and as a leader in our organization. And what I'd like to do is start out, because I can see that some of you are admiring my jar. It's a nice jar, huh? It's got water in it. Some of you are thinking, hey, I should get a jar like that for my loved ones. Valentine's Day is on Friday. What a great gift idea. But I also know that some of you are asking this question. Crystal, is that jar half full or half empty? What I want to share with you is what I see when I look at this jar. You see, when I look at this jar, I think, oh, look, a jar of water. I could build a goldfish habitat, or make Kool-Aid, or raise sea monkeys. Oh, wait, I know. When you were a kid, did you ever have a jar of water and you took a paper towel and you wrapped it on the inside of the jar, and then you took a seed and you tucked the seed between the glass and the paper towel? It is so cool. Because what happens is you can watch as the seed opens and the roots go down and the leaves go up and something grows. And isn't that really what we are all about growing things? We grow ourselves, we grow our teams, we grow this organization. That is who I am. I am about curiosity and change and fun and growing things. The second thing I want to tell you this morning about myself is that I grew up greatly loved. I believe that when you grow up greatly loved, you are willing to take risk. I see life as a grand adventure. And there's no fear of failure, because failure is simply an opportunity to say, oh, that didn't turn out so well. Let's try something new. So I feel that I would like that for each person that I work with. I want folks at work that I work with to feel so cared about that they are willing to go out and take risks and try new things. And if it works, yay! And if it doesn't, well, okay, we're going to keep trying with persistence until we find something that does work and we reach what our goal and we find success. Third, I would like to share with you, as I'm walking through the essence of who I am, something important that you each need to know. When I show up with energy and enthusiasm. I share this as kind of a truth in packaging statement, because when I come to your project or your event, or I work on a program with you, I am going to bring great passion. When the angels created the little crystal model, they completely forgot to install the slow, quiet mode. So I'm going to show up, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to get something done with enthusiasm and passion, because I think you deserve that. When I show up, I'm going to bring my A game, because you are important to me, because I owe that to you, and I owe that to this organization. So if that's the essence of who I am, kind of the hard wiring of how I show up, what are the values that I bring? Because I believe our values are absolutely critical. They manifest themselves in our behaviors at work and at home. Therefore, I want to share with you the values I bring, because they're going to impact how I behave, so what you can expect of me, and what I'm going to expect of each of you. Now, I think that our values, they're a lot like tools, okay? And so we bring tools to work with us every day. Those values that we use regularly are kind of those tools that we wear on that point of use, tool belt of life, right? We've got a variety of values, but some of them are absolutely the most critical that they're our go-to. So when I really started thinking about the values that I bring to work, it was tough, because I have a lot of values that I'm really passionate about. So I opened my toolbox of life, and I started to unpack the values that are important to me. I started with diversity and teamwork, because I love those two. And then I thought about caring and compassion, because people are so very important to me. And then I unpacked performance and results. They are absolutely critical. They're why we're here. Wow, and then, there was stewardship, fairness, don't be Marie, and extend grace. Wow, I just had a lot of values that really mean a great deal to me. So I thought, what are those critical few? What are those few that if I show up every day and I choose to live them? And oh, by the way, our values are a choice. So I choose to live these critical few. They cover all the others. For me, those three critical values are honesty, commitment, and loyalty. I'm going to start with honesty. To me, honesty is incredibly simple. It means that when I show up, I'm going to give you the truth. Each time. Every time. I think you deserve that. And I think it is the only way that we can build trust in business. It's the only way we can do business. Because each day that we come together, we want to build that relationship, and trust is fundamental to that. When I was very young, that's where I learned honesty. My mother was this amazing woman. And I remember when I was a teenager, we were downtown and a panhandler approached us. Now back then, women did not stop and hold conversations with panhandlers, but my mom did. So he asked her for any spare change that she might have, and she looked at him and said, "Sir." She called him sir because she treats everyone with respect. "If I give you money, what are you going to do with it?" He thought about it and said, "Well, ma'am, the truth is, if you give me money, I'm going to walk into that liquor store and I'm going to buy a bottle of wine." Much to my surprise, my mother did not give him change. My mother gave him folding money. Now, 35 years ago, you didn't give a wino folding money, but my mother did. And as she handed him the money, here's what she said. I do not agree with what you're going to do with it, but I have to reward your honesty. That was an enormous aha moment for me. Because what she was saying was this: I don't necessarily like what you're telling me. I don't even necessarily agree with what you're telling me. But I absolutely value the honesty with which it is given. I value and I respect the truth. That is huge for me, because what it says to me is that I should always value and reward the truth, simply because it is the truth. So that's what you can expect from me. I will always give you the truth. You may not like it. You may not want to hear it. But I will give it to you because I care about you and because I think you deserve it. I need the truth from you. Frankly, I'm going to expect the truth from you. Because only by giving one another the truth, whether or not we like it, whether or not it always makes us feel good, can we make good business decisions. And we are here to make good business decisions based on facts. So you can always rely on me to give you the truth. And I'm always going to rely on you to give me the truth. My second big value is commitment. To me, again, commitment is really straightforward. It means that if I give you my word, I'm going to honor it. Not when it's convenient, not when I feel like it. Each time. An example of this would be a few years ago when I was trying to buy a car. And I had been working with the manager of the car dealership for quite a few hours, and we were very close. But the problem was he did not have the car that I wanted on site. He was going to have to send up to Los Angeles and bring it down for me. And he wanted me to sign the paperwork that night. And I wasn't willing to sign the paperwork that night because I wanted to see the vehicle first. And so I said, "Sir." I called him sir because I try to treat everyone with respect. "Why are you so hard over on me signing the paperwork tonight?" And he thought about it and said, "Well, the truth is, I'm going to have to spend money to bring that car down. And I'm concerned that you will go home tonight and you might change your mind, or you might find something else online and not come back tomorrow." And I said, "Do I strike you as the kind of woman who would look you in the eye, shake your hand, give you my word, and then not honor it?" And he thought, and he said, "No, ma'am. You strike me as the kind of woman who gets what she wants." And so he sent to Los Angeles and brought the car down, and I came back, and we made the deal. I tell you this story because to me it is about commitment. I honor my commitments. I expect others to honor their commitments to me. So if I tell you that I'm going to do something, you can absolutely know that that is my intent. In return, if you tell me you're going to do something, that you're going to make a deadline, or you're going to deliver something, or you're going to be somewhere, I'm going to assume the very best about you, and that you are going to honor your commitments to me. Again, I think it's the only way we can do business. Only if we honor our commitments to one another can we build trust. And if we build trust, can we build relationship? And if we build relationship, can we grow a team? So I'm going to rely on you, and you can rely on me. And we will keep our promises to one another. My last, absolutely critical value is loyalty. Now, I grew up in a family where loyalty is so important. And it is about you take care of and speak well of one another. And I think business is like that also. You see, I spend more time with you than I do with my family. So you are my family. And I owe you loyalty. But also know this. When I walk through that door every day and I take a paycheck from this company, I owe this company loyalty. I owe them that I will show up every day and execute the mission to the very best of my ability. And I will do it with caring and compassion for the people that I am blessed to lead. So what does that look like? Because some days, what a corporation that you work for wants may not feel like it completely aligns with caring and compassion. How do I bring those together? Well, for 5 years, I was the logistics manager at Southwest Marine, which is the shipyard next door to NASCO. Now, when you work in a shipyard, the work is very cyclical. That means, at some times, you're hired as possible. Last, I would work with human resources to ensure that everyone who needed assistance in filling out their unemployment paperwork got the help they needed. And when absolutely people wanted it, I would help them with their job search. I owe loyalty to the company, and I will always execute the mission. But I will always endeavor to do so with caring and compassion for those people that I am responsible for. You can expect that of me. I'm going to expect that of you. And what I mean by that is I'm going to expect you to show loyalty to this company and to your teammates. When you show up, I expect you to do the very best with the knowledge and skills that you have today and give the company what they deserve. I also want you to take care of and look after your teammates, because that is also absolutely critical to our success. If you are a leader, I expect you to execute the mission of the company while understanding that people are your greatest resource, that leadership is a sacred trust. It is a privilege to lead, and we need to remember that and take care of those that we are gifted to lead. So I've shared with you the essence of who I am and the values that I bring to work every day, what you can expect of me, and what I'm going to expect of you in return. I'd like to close with both an ask and an invitation. My ask is this. I ask you to help me hold onto and deliver the commitments I've made to you. I would like to say that every single day I show up at my highest self, that I am fabulous every single day. The truth is, I am incredibly human. And some days, I'm just not as good as I would like to be, and not as good as you deserve. So I'm asking you to help me be that very best. Push me, hold me accountable. I especially love working in supply chain with my teammates because they do this for me. I want to really thank Mark and Deborah. They are great teammates. They hold me accountable. They push me. They make me a better person. They make me a better leader. And my invitation. If you have never sat down and really thought about who you are, you know, the real essence of what makes you you, and the values that you want to bring to work every day, that you want to be known by, and that you want to live your life by, I invite you to do this, and then share them with the people that you work with. If you are a leader, share them with your people, share them with your peers, and share them with your leadership. If you're not in leadership, share them with your peers, and share them with the folks you work for. I also ask you share them with the people at home. You see, I believe deeply that when we start talking to others about who the true essence of who we are is, and the values that we are going to choose to live by every day, what others can expect of us and what we're going to expect of them in return, we build amazing relationships. We grow amazing teams, and we can grow an amazing organization. So in closing, I invite all of you to take this step and help me grow this organization even bigger, better, and stronger than it already is. Again, I want to thank each of you for the precious gift of your time and open it up to questions.
Who is Marie?
Marie, thank you for asking. Okay. Don't be Marie. That references back to the story of Marie Antoinette. Now, most of you know this, so forgive me, but I'm gonna share it for those who might not. Now, I cannot tell you whether or not this story is true, right? Only that it's pretty famous. It goes back to the peasants in France were rioting. There was a famine, and there was no food. And when Marie turned to her advisors and said, "Why are the peasants rioting?" I don't do a good French accent. I'll have to work on that. "Why are the peasants rioting?" They said, "Well, madam, there's no bread. The people are starving." Her response was, "Well, then let them eat cake." Because she was so far removed from their life, she had no idea that there was no cake. There was nothing. Her concept was, well, if there's no bread, just eat something else. What's your problem? Why can you not figure this out? Don't Be Marie is a reminder to me as a leader to not pretend that I don't, or not acknowledge how hard someone's working and just say, well, you just need to do this, or you just need to take care of it. Why can't you just get us a purchase order? Why can't you just? I tell leaders that if they use the word just in the first 3 words of a sentence, it means they probably haven't done the job in a long time and may not know how it works, or they've never done the job. And the problem with it is it's very demeaning to the person that you're saying that to, because you aren't acknowledging the hard work that it may take them to get this mission done. And so Don't Be Marie is one of my values that I always need to value and care and want to listen to what help that person needs from me, what resource that person needs from me as a leader to help get their job done, not just wave my hand and say, make it so.
Okay, so I understand State's leadership point of view, and this is who you are and your values.
Yep.
And as a leader, because I have been on one of your teams, it's fantastic. Do you feel that your leadership has the same and similar values as you? And it doesn't even have to be the same values, just, I mean, you can tell a difference between a leader who does not understand what's in their toolbox and what their values are, and one that does. Do you feel your leadership has those values?
I feel that my immediate leadership absolutely has those values. I believe that leadership is a very broad term. I think there are a lot of great managers, and I'm going to go a little off your question for just a minute. I believe there are a lot of great managers out there, and I'm going to give you kind of my philosophy between the difference between great managers and great leaders. You manage data, you manage money, you manage time. You lead people. Money does not care if you waste it. It does not care what you do with it, whether you want to play with it in the middle of the night. It's money. Data does not care if you want it to recalculate itself 15 times and maybe never get the right answer. It doesn't sweat it. And time doesn't have little league games to go to. Time does not have elderly parents to care about. People do. People need a sense of accomplishment, so I don't like to make people do the same job 15 times and maybe get the right answer. It's frustrating. We need to understand that about people. People care about money. It brings value to their families. It brings value to the things in life that they care to donate to. It allows them freedom. So it's really critical that we understand that we manage data and time and money, and we lead people, and people have concerns, people have worries, and people want to be successful, and they want to show up and add value. So do I believe that there are a lot of leaders in the organization that share my values? Yes. Do I believe there are managers in the organization that don't share my values? Yes, I do. That's why I shared mine with you, so you know who I am and how I show up every day. Not everyone's going to. Not everybody's got that same set of values. What you have to determine is, what are yours? And who do you want to align with? And who do you want to be on your team? Does that help?
Thank you very much. I applaud and respect these values. And I'm sure everybody agrees that's extremely difficult to find them in the executives package. What's your best approach? Because this is not easy to be drawn out, either upwards or downwards. So what's not the secret, but how do we enforce it and make sure that you get the same feedback?
How do I?
Yes.
I think there's a number of ways. I think the first is you start with something like this. You share this. Part of the reason that I really wanted to share this is I want people to know this is who I am. It's kind of I don't know how you do business with other people, but when you do business with me, here's what it looks like. Now, I recognize that I'm not always going to get this back. I understand that. But I also believe that if I constantly put that out there, if I constantly believe the best in people, and I regularly tell them this is what I want back, and when I don't get that back, I have that candid conversation that says, hey, this is what I expect when you work with me. I didn't get it. Let's figure out how I'm going to get it in the future. And that's really been it. I think it's the being very, very upfront. I think the people who work with me would tell you the best thing about working with me is you know exactly where you stand. The hardest thing about working with me is you know exactly where you stand. Because I'm candid. Because, again, as I talked about, I think everybody deserves to know right up front. My life experience has been, if I constantly put that out, I get that back. Or I try to align myself with people who do give that back.
Now that you got your answer from Marie.
In the introduction, it was mentioned that you graduated from the military academy. How did that experience shape your current leadership style?
One of the things that I really love about West Point, and I will tell you, West Point was a very hard experience for me. I was one of the early classes to have women, so it was not a fun college experience. But I didn't go there expecting a fun college experience. I went there specifically because I love challenge. I'm all about doing the hard thing, about figuring out how to be wildly successful in something where maybe I'm not supposed to be, or other people think I'm not supposed to be wildly successful. So it was great because it really shaped perseverance, persistence. It really shaped that whole concept of being willing to put yourself out there and take risks. And if you don't get it right the first time, you go, oh, well, that didn't work out good for me. What's plan B? And what's plan C? And let me tell you, I regularly get down to plan F and G, right? So that's part of it. Part of what shaped me was just this entire concept of persistence and taking more risk and understanding that change happens and I can either push back or I can embrace it and be part of it. Obviously, the whole concept of duty, honor, country is very, very heavy in honesty, commitment, and loyalty. But I would not say those were new concepts to me. What was really great is going to the Service Academy where duty, honor, country, basically honesty, commitment, and loyalty were the expectations, or that I grew up with that. You know, I really grew up in a household where those were the values I was raised with. And so choosing those and having them re-emphasized at the Service Academy and the intelligence officer, again, were just really these things, these underlying values are what really held me in good stead, especially in the Army, because they say that, you know, stress does not create character, it reveals it. And so I think that by constantly anchoring myself in those values, it really came out in the stressful, hard times.
Coming back to that question on loyalty, sometimes it's not possible to be loyal to two parties, and there could be conflict. I'm sure you must have felt that in your job as intelligence officer. You cannot be loyal to everyone. So how did you deal with that?
Okay. Duty, honor, country. That is really what the Service Academy at West Point's motto is. It is always first and foremost, in that case, about country, right? For me, as long as I walk through those doors, my commitment is to this company. As I said, I will always execute the mission with caring and compassion, but I will execute the mission. Now, I will have candid conversations. I will have crucial conversations. I will talk to people. I will involve people in the answer. I will do everything I possibly can to get the best answer for everyone, but I will always execute the mission.
Thank you.
What are the some of the key items or characteristics that you've seen that has helped you jump in your career and move up in the organization, opportunities or such that you've taken?
Sure, and that is a great question. There's kind of two paths that I can talk about. The first is that I have not stayed in this industry. Obviously, from my bio, I didn't grow up in aerospace. I came out of the Army. I've worked in vocational education. I've worked in nutritional products. I've worked in a shipyard. I mean, pretty diverse categories. But I've always pretty much stayed in logistics and operations. What has allowed me all those opportunities is my intense curiosity, my willingness to learn, and my willingness to say, put me in coach. Even in the jobs where I was in the company, I had the president of one company, the bookkeeper walked out right before a major audit. Now I have no accounting background because I came out of the military. And yet he called me and he said, Crystal, I need you to clean up the books. And I said, Bill, I have no accounting or finance background. He said, I don't care. I need someone I can trust. I will bring in an accountant to help you with the technical part of it. I need someone I can trust to look after the best interest of the business. So I believe if you constantly, people know you're looking to do what's right for the company and right for your teammates and right for the owner if it's a privately held company. If you are always willing to say, put me in, I will learn it, I will do my very best, I will always give you 120%. Those type things are what are looked for. I am going back to school with a lot of people who are younger than me. Again, why? Because I can't stand here and tell people I believe that you should really deeply invest in personal growth that you should invest in change and be going out there and learning new things if I'm not willing to walk that talk? So constantly investing and looking for new things to learn and new ways to grow and new ways to contribute to the company. I think all of those are really critical to success, and have both outside and inside this company completely been responsible for my success.
Mark?
You've mentioned many times about executing the mission or executing and getting performance and results.
Right.
What have in the past, or what would you do in a situation where you feel the company is not putting its employees' best interests in mind, and executing the goal really goes against valuing your employees?
It's a great question. There have been a number of times when I was asked to do something that did not align with the ethical values that had been espoused. And so I went to the leadership, first of all, in private and confidence, right? I didn't do it in a big group setting and call someone out. I went to my leader and I said, here's the challenge that I'm having. Here's how I view it. Please share with me what I'm missing. Now, in most cases, either they were willing to change what they'd asked me to do, because I very candidly laid out why I was concerned. But also, if they were willing to change, it was typically because I brought them another solution. I showed them how I could get to where they wanted to go in a different or better way. Again, my goal is to get performance, right? I mean, that's why we're here. We all show up for that reason. But by the same token, we have to do it with integrity. We have to do it within the morals and values and ethics that we hold. And so I always try to come with my concern, but also with a solution. And typically I've been able to resolve it. Now, have I always been able to resolve it? No. I will tell you that I have left a job because I had to make a choice because of this. But I think that's the other thing. You have to really think about your values. Okay? Because you have to be willing to walk. And I'm very upfront with people about that. You have to be able to walk. It's a hard decision. Oh man, it's a hard decision. But some days, you have to think about whether or not you can continue to look at yourself in the mirror. I regularly do that check. If I can't, if I go 6 months or more where I just don't feel good in a job, I have left. That decision is different for everyone because everyone's life situation is different. I'm just very blessed that I've been able to do that. Does that answer it? Thank you.
My question was very much along the lines of what he just asked. If there's let's say in your case, there's a conflict between honesty and loyalty, and you're expected to be loyal, but you also want to be honest, so that there's a conflict. You can't do both.
Mine are prioritized. Honesty.
Okay, so
Honesty.
what happened? So
I'm not sure, though, I know of a situation where honesty isn't being loyal. Because to me, to be dishonest is not loyal.
I agree. So, kind of going off what you said about being willing to walk, there's a decision that gets made. It's like, well, you can stay and fight for the better change,
Right.
or you could not.
Right.
So, how do you make that? What's that thought process like for you?
Funny, it's a lot like, for me, it's like a decision brief. Again, everybody makes their life decisions differently. You use, different decision-making tools. For me, a lot of my decision-making tools are pretty, I'm going to list out the pros, I'm going to list out the cons. In this case, if it has to do with ethical or moral values, that's a really serious one. You know, stuff over here, things like, oh, am I getting paid enough? Do I have enough vacation? Do I really like this? That's an entirely different topic. When you're really talking about moral and ethical values, you have to decide, can I live my moral and ethical values where I am? Am I willing to do that? Am I willing to push my moral and ethical values where I am? Can I be successful? Do I care? Or am I going to stay and fight the good fight just because I like to stay and fight the good fight? All of those things enter into your decision-making process. What I do know is this is who I am. And I think when you get to that point, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. Because you know who you are, you know what you can do, and you know what you can't. I don't know that I had the right answer for you. But I'm not sure I'm not sure there is a right answer, because the right answer is different for each person.
But if you're unhappy with something and you're not presenting solutions, I mean, what do you have?
Exactly.
Just, there's always got to be some sort of, there's a reason behind everything. You know, present a solution or find out the cause.
Perfect. Thank you.
David?
On the lighter side, I was wondering how was it you were able to be in charge of a shipyard when you were an Army person?
You know, it was great. Southwest Marine is it's a Navy shipyard in that 95% of their work is for the Navy, but they're a civilian organization, and I was out of the service at the time. It was great fun. I loved it. My boss was a retired Navy Special Boats captain who specifically hired me through a blind ad. Just, you know, from a humorous standpoint, they had listed this job because the person that they were replacing did not know they were going to be replaced. And it was for some moral and ethical reasons. I mean, there were some significant ethical challenges going on in their supply chain, and my boss, the man who hired me, knew that. And so the advertisement did not actually say what it was, just that they were looking for someone who had some military experience and background in logistics. It said that it was a high stress, high pressure position with equal opportunity for success or failure. And I thought, sign me up, that's my kind of job, right? Because to me, it was all about the challenge, about doing something new and exciting and serving an organization that had a true need. And when he hired me, he said, Crystal, I'm hiring you because the #1 requirement for this job is a steel spine. Because he really needed someone to stand up to some of the old-fashioned ways of doing shipyard business and change their supply chain. And he was an absolute pleasure to work with for 5 years. And we made great changes and very positive changes.
So that explains the one company position. The steel spine?
Steel spine.
I have 2 questions. First, it sounds like you have a lot of energy. How do you save or add to your home life compared to your work life? Are you exhausted when you get home? And secondly, how would you advise people who find themselves in a department that is somewhat discouraged by our new culture, so to speak?
All right. I'll start with the first one, which is kind of that work-life balance question. So I'm going to start. I want to take just a minute and try and shift your paradigm about work-life balance. Because most people refer to it as work-life balance, and I don't. Because I spend more time at work with all of you than I do at home. So you are part of my life. You are a big part of my life. So I call it work-life, personal life balance, okay? Because I have all the time that I spend with all of you, my friends, my colleagues, and I have the time that I spend at home or with my friends in my personal life. So first, it's work life, personal life. Second thing, then, is that lots of people seem to think that work-life, personal life balance is a set of scales, and they need to balance perfectly, and that you're getting cheated if the company expects more of it, or that you're cheating work. Some people think, hey, I'm cheating work if I spend too much time with my family, right? And that it's like this. I don't see it that way. I see work-life, personal life as more like a teeter-totter or a seesaw that is constantly in motion. Because we go through seasons in our lives. There are some seasons in our lives where we can and should spend more time at work. Work may really need you to give 120%. There are those times. There are also those times and those seasons in your life where home really needs you more, and you're going to have to dedicate a little more time at home. It goes like this. And some seasons are longer than others, but I've had many of both of those seasons, and I'll give you a couple of examples. When I worked at the shipyard, I had to fire my tool room lead man. And I didn't find another lead man for 5 months. And when I finally hired her, she was fabulous. But for 5 months, I worked 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. It was critical for the job. It needed to get done. It had to get done. And so during that time, yeah, I was really heavy over here on the work side of that teeter-totter. But I've also had the time in my life when my husband had cancer. And I was very, very fortunate that my boss, where I worked, and the company that I worked for was understanding that there were times when I needed to be late to work because I needed to take him to chemotherapy. Life is not like this. Life is a teeter-totter. Embrace it, understand it, find that balance for you where you need to be. It's hard sometimes, and sometimes you have to have those really hard, candid conversations with your home or your work on how you're going to find that balance. But balance can be here, and balance can be here. Because life is long, and we're all in it together. Morale is hard sometimes. It is, and I will not take away from that. What I can tell you are only the things that I do. I ensure that when I'm not, when things are really hard at work, I ensure that when I'm not here, I'm doing things for which I have great passion and love, because I think that re-energizes us. So first of all, make sure that you're really doing things for yourself outside of work that make you happy and bring you great joy. Secondly, when you are at work, enjoy all the good things about your job. Because there are always great things about your job. There are always some things you don't like about your job. We all have those. For me, when I'm having a really hard time, morale's really low, I turn to the people that I'm blessed to work with. Again, I care deeply about each of you. I feel blessed that you are my teammates. I know that when I'm having a hard day, that you look out for me. There's an old saying that your friends are those people who know the song of your life and sing it back to you when you can't remember the words. I am so fortunate to have people like that in supply chain with me. And when I have bad days, I go to them and say, could you say something nice to me? Because I'm having a really hard day. I am blessed to have people that I can say that to and be vulnerable with. And I try to be that kind of friend and that kind of teammate to them.
I guess if you have no more questions, we can bring it to closure. Okay, thanks, Crystal. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks, everyone.